Okay, guys, I'm on YouTube and also on TikTok, and I something dawned on me today. It kind of woke me up. Didn't wake me up and like I was asleep, but have you ever been in a situation where you're just laying down and you have a clear mind, and then you realize, wait a minute, something's this sounds familiar, this seems familiar. I don't know if anybody out there ever had a prophetic dreams, visual dreams, um, Christian dreams, godly dreams, things that happen. You're like, you wake up like, man, like that felt so real. If you don't know how to interpret dreams, so just to give you a background, as a kid, I've been very visual to the point where I didn't understand what was real or what was not real. My parents and family always said, oh, she has an active imagination, and so active to the point it became like a running joke in my family. But later on, as I got older, I realized I had to teach myself to realize what was real that happened into my world versus the spiritual world, right? And at a young age, I felt God was calling me, and it that's why it's very important to have spiritual people around you to understand like how God is calling you, right? And I even had this conversation with my mother later on in life, like in my early 30s. I was like, you guys made a joke about me having these active imagination, but in reality, God was calling me. God was sharing, hey, there's something. He was using me, right? So if you ever have, so let's start off with the prophetic dream, and then I'm going to tell you about a dream that I had years ago when I was a kid. And there's two of them. Another one's popping up, and the other one that I had when I was a child became more vivid to me lately. And it was nothing to it, but I don't know. I started thinking about it even more, and then I was laying on my couch earlier, and I had a moment because I had another dream that happened when I was in high school, and I didn't understand it. I went to the pastor. I mean, when you're a newbie Christian, you're taught to go to the pastors, or you talk to go to the spiritual leaders and say, "Hey, what did this mean?" And I think early on as a kid, I realized that a lot of these pastors, a lot of these people who are in the church don't really know. They're not as spiritually led, or they don't have spiritual experience. They have the physical experience going to church every day, but they don't have the spiritual experience to talk to somebody who actually is going through a spiritual experience that God has taken them. So if you ever had a dream, so say that you are a person that had many dreams back in the day, or even some dreams. Me personally, I probably had five. I could count on one hand or even two hands on how many times I heard the voice of God, and how many times I had dreams. I know a lot of people are online saying that God told me this and I had a dream. Like, it doesn't work that way, y'all. It doesn't work that way. Even in the Bible, you see how the prophets don't even hear from God maybe every century, maybe every 10 years, they may hear from God, right? So if someone's talking about like God spoke to them, that really doesn't work that way. But anyways, everybody to his own, whatever. So when you have a dream and you can remember it verbatim, so meaning like say that you have a dream and you remember it like it just happened like yesterday, like, and then a couple days go by, you still remember every single step of the dream. That is a spiritual dream. If you forget what the dream was about when you wake up, then there's nothing to it. But if you remember the dream, there's something to it. So that's one warning to let you know, like, hey, be aware. The people in your dream may represent someone. So you might see your mother in the dream. You might see a cousin in the dream. You might see somebody in the dream. That doesn't mean it's that person. It means that they are supposed to evoke a feeling out of you. So if you see your mom in a dream, then you have a feeling of like, what? Oh, I love this. It's a certain feeling that you have to have in this dream. So God can talk to you. So that when you are going off and doing something else and something happens, you have that same feeling and experience, and it makes you remember, oh my gosh, my dream. So you got to understand when it comes to like prophetic dreams. Um, The person in the dream is not really that person, but it's the feeling that you're supposed to remember. So you know how you smell a candle and you remember that smell going on and on and on, and you can go anywhere and you're like, oh, I remember that time. It's like that in dreams. So here's my dream. We got a little bit of people on, so here it goes. I'll tell you the first one I had as a child. So this is when during the age where I didn't know how to know that what's real and what's not. Me and my mom was walking up to the house, and she's like, "Hurry up! It's about to storm." So we're running up to the house, and I'm a little girl, I'm like 5 years old, and I look up in the sky, and there's a black cloud and there's a white cloud, regular clouds, right? Just black cloud looks like it's like a storm cloud, and the white cloud looks like it's a regular cloud, but they're going really at fast pace like this to hit each other. And she said, "Get in the house, it's about to storm." So we are running into the house and we shut the door, and I look out the window and I see it coming about to hit each other. And then I guess I closed my eyes, and then a big crack hit the ground, like air, like, it's like thunder. It was like, wow. So I woke up after that. That was my childhood dream. But the issue is I started thinking about it even more today. That was like when I was 5 years old. I am like 35 right now, 36. I don't know, I lost count. But like I started thinking about it today. Now here's the other dream that woke me out of my nap of after this whole war thing with the Iran situation. And let me just give you the whole thing. There has been a mass exodus out of California. If you have not heard, a mass exodus. No one is here. California is the melting pot of a lot of entertainers, a lot of actors, a lot of artists. Even if you go to the event down the street, no one's there. There was like BET weekend where the whole weekend would be packed with different people. Every day party that we went to was 5 people. That should tell you that no one's here. So what happened? What have caused this? Well, you have COVID. A lot of the entertainment industry shut down. A lot of production companies and studio houses had to leave. So a lot of people have gone. Number 2, there was the writer strike. And then there was another strike. And then now people still couldn't work. So a lot of people had to leave and go to different places to pay their rent. Like they couldn't pay like a $3,000 rent for a studio where they can go to the Midwest and pay like what, 700 or something. So a lot of people pack up their stuff and left, and they realized that they can do entertainment from anywhere, especially when these companies were leaving anyway. So what else happened? The fires. So now you have this big fire that wiped out a lot of homes. And these weren't just the celebrity homes where we're used to of celebrities losing their stuff. There were like people who were working people. People lost everything. So that happened. That was like the last kick in the gut. So people who ran from the fires left LA. So now I'm here and I'm kind of like, wow, why am I still here? But God's blessing me to be here. Like every time I'm trying to leave, I'm being pulled back. Like He give me an opportunity. So many blessings this whole year was a blessing. God upgraded my apartment. So many things happened. So the dream. Back in the day when I was in high school and I was a newbie to my faith, right? I was still a baby Christian. I started having a lot of these different dreams. Like it wasn't, I remember there's one big one that I still don't understand. I'm not going to share that right now. I might later. But like there was another one, and this was the second one that I had. And it was like a group of us running. All of us was running. And we were running like really, really fast. And we were running from the city. And during this time, I'm in high school, so I don't live in a city. I live in Virginia Beach, right? It's a small city, but it's not like Los Angeles. But in this dream, I was running from a city like Los Angeles. And we're all running to the field. It's like we all had to leave the city and we're running in the desert and we're running, running, running. And I look above me and there were flying saucers, like alien saucers, and they were going towards the city. And we are all running away. But I forgot something. I don't know what it was. I think it was my Bible or something. I was like, oh, I forgot my Bible. Like if I'm going to go and live in this desert, or live wherever I'm going to be a nomad, I need to get my Bible. I need to grab something to take with me. My mom is with me. So I turn around and I run back to go to the city, into the city to get my Bible. And my mom catches me and she's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, she said, and my mom doesn't live with me. She's not in California, but she was there in that moment. And she was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you cannot go back. Everybody's leaving. We're running. And I said to her, I was like, I'm not afraid of them. I have Jesus Christ. And I continued to run into the city and I woke up. So I didn't know what that meant back then. It was very traumatizing because, when you're having a dream and you're actually running in your dream, you're kind of like trying to really get out, but you can't really move, right? Mentally or physically. But I woke up like, oh my goodness. I went to a church. I talked to my pastor at the time. And I was telling him the dream and, they gave me some softball, like, oh, well, like that. So I was like, whatever. I never really paid attention to it, but it was like I remember it like yesterday. I even gave a testimony in front of the church and said it, and they were like, what the heck? And you know what? Maybe I needed to do that. Maybe I needed to welcome on YouTube. Maybe I needed to do that. Because in that moment, I'm thinking about everything, y'all. Y'all understand. This is now dawning on me because I had this dream years ago. And I remember going to the church and I just felt like, if you have a dream, you need to share it. If a prophetic dream, you need to share it. And I was a newbie Christian. So I was like, okay, well, I need to get up there and share this dream. So I go into my church and I get to the mic and I share this dream. And I guess I didn't get the reaction that I wanted to. So I felt like, oh man, I should have never done that. But maybe I was supposed to do that. Maybe I was supposed to share that dream because now look what is happening. Now let me interpret this dream. I am running from a city, right? There is a mass exodus happening. I am in a mass exodus. It might not be as chaotic in my dream, but people are leaving the city because of something that's coming in. And the saucers are aliens, right? And I'm thinking like, because they look like the alien ships. They're looking like the alien ships that you see in the movies. So it's like ET's coming into the city about to take over, right? But then I don't know if you saw, but the news station started talking about the bombing that United States did on Iran, and they picked up these flying saucers that we have never seen before. Like now they're showing how advanced a lot of this material, or not material, but these machineries are nowadays. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, like this looks like something out of a sci-fi movie, And it dawned on me, it's not aliens from a different planet. It's basically from it's just, you get what I'm saying? Like it's not like ET, It's literally an invasion from a different country. So I woke up out of my sleep out of that because I was thinking, I was resting my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh. So what is happening? Granted, I went back to the city because I was like, oh, I'm going to be fine, which I'm still in the city and like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, my apartment was surrounded by a whole bunch of people recently. Like I had guards, I did a TikTok on that where it's like, I already was in the middle of the riots here in LA. My apartment is in the middle. It's all in the news and everything. Everything was broken down. We're all boarded up. So I'm literally in the middle of a war zone, because I live near City Hall here. But like to see that imagery where it's like there have been an exodus out of the city. No one's here. A lot of my friends are gone. You're still here. And I'm not worried. And that's one thing I can say is like, I really do feel full in my heart. I feel like I'm protected. I feel full, if you ever experience feeling full, like fullness. So I feel fullness. So I don't fear, but I am but I am aware of the times. I'm looking around and I'm looking at my counterparts and I'm like, there's something happening. I even text my friend today and I say, hey, what's your game plan to leave the city? Because even if you see how Iran is like, they say you better get out the city. There's like a whole line of cars trying to drive out the city. It's like telling the people of New York to leave New York, right? Like, can you imagine? California, we already got traffic. So I was telling my friend, I was saying, hey, so what's your game plan to get out of California? Are you taking a flight? Are you like, driving? Do we need to get a map? Like go old school, get a map, and so we can start dotting our, whatever, because the GPSs are out because there's so much stuff going on. Like we never experienced what the Iranians and the Palestinians and Middle Eastern people experience, right? When it comes to that kind of stuff. So I was just asking, him, and he was telling me his game plan or whatever. And I still feel full, and I just think about like I started thinking about that dream I had a long time ago, and probably confirmation that boom, you're fine. But it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm running from a city. I had to turn back and go back to the city and live. But then there's flying saucers that's coming to the city. And I'm talking about these things look like advanced, like they're aliens. But then I'm realizing, I was like, oh my gosh, they're alien, like they're different from different country, not a different planet. You know what I mean? So now I'm connecting my dream of what I saw when I was like probably 16 years old. Like that was years ago when God gave me that dream. And just for the people who's just joining, during that time, I felt like I needed to share this dream with my church at the time because I felt like, hey, when you have a prophetic dream, you got to share it with everybody. And y'all, I'm telling y'all, like, y'all don't understand. Like, God does things for a reason. He's going to get you out of your comfort zone and he's going to have you do things and you're not going to understand why you do it, but you're going to do it. And I felt like embarrassed and I felt like ashamed because everybody just stared at me like, this crazy girl, get off the stage talking about these flying saucers or like aliens, Believe me, you're probably seeing something, Sherry. But like these flying saucers, you better walk, there you go. Like these flying saucers. So the thing is, it's one of those things, y'all, where we got to be obedient. And the fact that I gave that in front of a church and I didn't know why I gave that testimony in front of a church when I was like probably 17, 16 years old, felt a little embarrassed because everybody just stared at me and it was like, wow, that was a good, vivid dream. But now I'm looking at it today where it's like, oh, this is actually coming, is coming real for me in my life. I mean, it might not be for anybody else, but it's definitely for me because it's like I had to go back to the city and chill. And as everybody is joining, I don't know if you heard, basically I was talking about the climate of LA, where it's like everybody did the mass exodus. No one lives here. A lot of artists left. We have people here, but it's like you can feel the emptiness of a lot of people who came here for like the entertainment industry. So everybody done a mass exodus. And a lot of people who's not in entertainment industries or in entertainment industries like, man, why am I still here? Should I even leave? Let me go. So after that, it's kind of like, why am I still here? Like, why is people here? So I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Have you guys had any prophetic dreams or anything that you feel like during this time that's happening? Like, let me know. Hi, YouTube. I'm on both things. I'm on TikTok and YouTube sharing this. But just to give you guys a rundown, because we have more people join, I was telling everybody that years ago when I was a child, I had dreams. I have vivid dreams, and people weren't really taking me serious. I didn't know the difference between reality and my like reality and dreams, right? Because they were so real. I woke up and I'm thinking that it's the same, it's like what real life. So when I was telling people, I said, I wish my mom at the time would have said, girl, God is calling you. So you just got to listen and you understand and start interpreting these dreams. And I told people that when you're interpreting dreams, it's all about how you feel in the dream. So if you feel like, so God would bring somebody in a dream to to evoke a certain emotion. So if he brings somebody in the dream that you don't like, you're going to have an emotion of like bitterness, right? If you have a person that you love, like your mother or, you know, father or, you know, cousin, whatever, then it's going to be a certain type of relationship or emotion from that. And that's what you have to remember in the dream, because that's what's going to help you interpret in that moment. I have another dream that I am, actually, I'm going to share this dream. Should I share it? Let me know. If you give me a lot of hearts, I'll share you another dream to give you an example that actually came like true. But but if you give me a lot of hearts, I'll share that other dream, another prophetic dream that I actually had. But so yeah, so that's how you interpret dreams when you have certain people in your dreams. It evokes emotion. So when you go throughout life and something happens, you remember, like it's like smelling a candle. You remember, like, wait a minute, this is exactly how my dream is, you know, because it evoked a certain emotion that God got out of you in that dream. So the emotion can be a warning. It can be happiness. It could be something, but it's going to prepare you for what's to come, right? So in this dream that I had, I was running from the city. It was a group of us. It was a crowd of us. We're always running into the desert. And we were running fast and stuff. And then while we were running, there were flying saucers over our head going towards the city. So it's kind of like a movie where you're running, then you look up and you turn. And I saw the flying saucers going straight to a city. At the time, I was in high school. I didn't live in a city like that. So it was very like, really powerful for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, what was this? So I decided, I forget my Bible. I think I forgot my Bible, and because I forgot something, and I had to go back to get it out the city, and I couldn't live without it. It was one of those things where it's like, no, I gotta go get my Bible, because I'm like, if we're gonna be living in the desert, if we're running and we're getting invaded, that's one thing I want. So I turn around and I run towards the city, and people are running away from the city. And then my mom catches me and she said, hey, you know, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? I said, I got to go get my Bible. And she's like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? You know, we're watching this flying saucers go into the city, you know? So then I was like, look, I'm cool, because Jesus Christ is with me. And I said it like that boldly, and I kept on going, and I woke up. So that was the end of my dream. So today I was laying down, taking a nap. Thank you, lady, for the gifter. Appreciate it. So I was sitting down taking a nap. And after I text my friend, like, hey, what you gonna do? You know, we got a plan, like what's happening? We got to figure out something, you know? So thank you, lady, right? Appreciate it. So I was like, what are you gonna do? So then it dawned on me afterwards. So I was taking a nap, and I remember my dream. I was like, and I didn't remember. This is where I remember my dream. So I was looking at the news, like NBC News, and they were talking about all this planned attack, that United States did on Iran. And I'm just sitting here looking at it, and they start giving pictures of these, like this next world, the technology that they use to send over there to drop these bombs, I guess, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like something out of a sci-fi film. It didn't look like, you know, like it looked very advanced. And the dream hit me. It's like God said, boom. And I thought about it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it hit me, because now I'm thinking in my dream how parallel those things looked, right? They looked the same. And in our mind, you know, in the dream, I knew it was an alien that was, and I'm thinking from Mars, right? Because I'm used to the ETs back in the day. The aliens were, you know, but then I start thinking, what do we call people here? Like, you know, people that's invading our countries, you know, aliens, right? So it was like, oh my gosh, you know, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, like, oh my goodness. So yeah, that freaked me out. But I remember my other portion of the dream. As everybody exodus my Hollywood, everybody exodus California, everybody's gone, you know, COVID, the strikes, now the fires have kicked a lot of people out. I'm still here. But what did my dream say? My dream is like, look, you're going to be back in the city. You're going to be back in the city. But what's going to keep you in the city, what's going to keep you safe is like, oh, I believe in Jesus Christ. Nothing's going to happen to me, right? It's like I have that armor on me. And it's funny, very interesting that this past year, God made an attempt for me to start really memorizing the word of God. And that's what my whole page is about. It's like memorizing Psalms, memorizing all the scriptures that are bulletproof to get into your heart, right? So like we need to, hold on, I said that's not too far off from what's actually going on to have, and that's why it kind of made me like, what? Woke me up. It woke me up today. It did. And for me to give that prophecy in front of the church where I didn't want to, but I just felt like, at the time, I said, well, I got this vivid dream. I need to give it to a church. So they had like open mic night one day, and they said, anything that's on your heart, come talk. That's when my church was doing it. So I went and I said, I had a dream, and this is the dream. And I shared it. And at the end, everybody just stared at me like, this lunatic, right? And I just felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed. And I was like, wow, they didn't embrace it. But, one person gave me like, wow. And everybody else just stared at me like, okay. It was a packed church. But I questioned. I said, man, I'm never doing that again. Maybe like, I was so embarrassed. But I feel like I was supposed to do it in that moment so that when something actually happens, people can be like, wait a minute. This is the same thing this girl said at the church. You see how things like come full circle, So I'm like, well, I'm glad that maybe later in life that people may think about me. Thank you, Kathy. Think about me when they may think about this dream the girl shared at a church, like, these aliens were coming and, whatever. And everybody was running from the city. Not in a bad ways, y'all. So I'm not calling anybody no alien or whatever, but like that was the vivid dream. And that's how I interpret it in the dream, right? Like God will give us images so that we could think about it. Like think images in our own mind that we know, for us to understand and to see the images that the government or NBC gave today about these flying saucers. Like, I was like, you guys go look it up. It's like so advanced and so alien-like. I'm like, well, then if we have those, I'm guaranteed other country has them too. Like they have their own version of it, right? So it was just one of those things. Thank you so much, James. Yes, those UFOs are actually angelic vehicles, and those aliens are actually, yeah. I don't know if you guys heard, but I remember in 1990s there was this guy who was a reporter who used to write things about aliens. He was very like crazy about it. He was like, he always wanted to chase an alien, and he was writing stories of people who had these experiences with UFOs. And one day he had a dream, and he had a dream from Jesus, and Jesus said, hey, what are you writing about is very true. He said, what are you seeing and talking to these people? They're like, he said, it's real. He said, but it's not what you believe it is they're demons. He said, so what's happening, and this is what Jesus said to the guy. He said, what's happening, these people are having these experiences with UFOs, and they're dropping them in various places of the United States. And they're experiencing them. He said, and then they're having these abductions. He said, but what happens when the Son of Man comes back and takes his people? The people who's going to be left is going to think that they got abducted by aliens. He said, so the enemy are planting these things and these seeds so that people can think that there's going to be an alien invasion when it's not. It's like Jesus is coming back and he's collecting his own. So after he had that dream, he just kind of like turned the whole leaf and he started writing about it in a different way. And he went to his office, said, these are demons, and and he had to quit his job because people are like, what's going on with you? But like, that's what Jesus told him in a dream, where he's like, look, no, he said, what you're doing, what you're seeing, all this is right. But they're planting them different alien species all around to create the illusion that these are aliens and that they're going to come to the earth and abduct you. He said, because when the Son of Man comes and takes his people, then everybody's not even going to believe. They're going to believe that it's going to be an alien out there, and this 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 whole, they're gonna go left with it, you know, and it's like, no, read the Bible. I did everything that I said in the Bible, right? So that's like, you know, I don't know if you guys heard about that. That was a long time ago. And my mom, you know, my mom was like into those stories when that came out. But yeah, so prophetic dreams, guys, you said there are already here for a long time. Yeah, I do. And then, you know, it's a